ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगन ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome all of you to our special Gaur Purnima discussion class. Rupa Goswami says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all merciful. He is the supreme merciful among all incarnation of the Lord. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tuse Namaha। मेरे साथ आप सब बोल सकते हैं ये श्लोक को। नमो महावदान्याय
नमो
महाभारताय
कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते
कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते
कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य
कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्याय
नाम्ने गौरत्वसे नमः।
ने गौरवे से नमः।
नमो महावदान्याय
नमो महाबादानाय
कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते
कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते
कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य
कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य
नाम्ने गौरत्वसे नमः।
नामे गौरा नमस्ते
नाम्ने गौरत्वसे नमः।
नामे गौरा नमः।
Very good. Wonderful.
Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya
Namne Gaura Tuse Namaha.
Name.
So I am sharing the screen in a moment. So you will see it. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Gaur Purnima. Today is very auspicious Gaur Purnima. On this auspicious day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world to give us Krishna Prema. So this is what Rupa Goswami says. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tuse Namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya. So you are supremely merciful. Mahavadanyaya. Why? Because you have given us Krishna Prema Pradayate. You have shown us how to release this Krishna Prema in the process of chanting, Sankirtan, congregational chanting. Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya. Oh my dear Krishna, who appeared as Krishna Chaitanya in this age of Kali, I offer my obeisances to you, who is named as Gaura, Gaura Chandra. Krishna appeared in age of Dwapara as Krishna Chandra. He is Leela Purushottam. Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this age of Kali as Gaura Chandra. Bola Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare.
Let us read some life sketch about Sriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on this occasion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in Mayapur, in the town of Nadia, just after sunset of the evening of the 23rd Phalguna, 1407 Sakabda, answering to the 18th of February, 1486 of the Christian era. The moon was eclipsed at the time of his birth, and the people of Nadia were then engaged as was usual on such occasions in bathing in the Bhagirathi with loud cheers of Haribol. His father, Jagannath Mishra, a poor Brahmana of the Vedic order, and his mother, Sachi Devi, a model good woman, both descended from Brahmana, stock originally residing in Sylhet. Mahaprabhu was a beautiful child, and the ladies of the town came to see him with presents. His mother's father, Pandit Nilambara Chakravarti, a great renowned astrologer, foretold that the child would be a great personage in time, and he therefore gave him the name Vishwambara. चैतन्य महाप्रभु का जन्म नदिया में हुआ, ये 23rd Phalguna 1407 Sakabda, which is like 18th February 1486 that time. Okay, and moon was eclipsed at the time of his birth. Okay, so that day it was a lunar eclipse. So after lunar eclipse, the customary is that the people will take bath after seeing the full moon. Yeah. So everyone is going to Bhagirathi to take bath and then they are chanting loudly Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So in that auspicious moment, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took birth to Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Devi. They are both Brahmana, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grandfather from the mother side, Pandit Nilambar Chakrabarti, he could predict that this child is not an ordinary child. He will be a great personage. Hence, he gave his name as Vishwambhara. The ladies of the neighborhood styled him Gaurahari on account of his golden complexion, and his mother called him Nimai on account of the nimba tree near which he was born. Beautiful as the lad was, everyone heartily loved to see him every day. As he grew up, he became a whimsical and frolicsome lad. After his 5th year, he was admitted into a Patsala where he picked up Bengali in a very short time. Because of his golden complexion, he is known as Gaurahari. And he took birth under the tree, Neem tree. That's the reason his name was Nimai. His mother used to call him Nimai. And he was very beautiful. Okay, so everyone in the Nadia have fallen in love with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his childhood. Most of his contemporary biographers have mentioned certain anecdotes regarding Chaitanya, which are simple records of his early miracles. It is said that when he was an infant in his mother's arms, he wept continually, and when the neighboring ladies cried Haribol, he used to stop. Mahaprabhu, from his very childhood, he has started preaching. So when in his mother lap, he used to cry. But when someone will chant Haribol, Haribol, he will stop crying. Thus, there was a continuation of utterance of Haribol in the house, foreseeing the future mission of the hero. It was also been stated that when his mother gave him sweet meats to eat, he ate clay instead of the food. His mother, asking for the reason, he stated that as every sweet meat was nothing but clay transformed, he could eat clay as well. His mother, who was also the consort of a Pandita, explained that every article in a special state was adapted to a special use. Earth, while in the state of a jug, could be used as a water pot, but in the state of a brick, such a use was not possible. Clay, therefore, in the form of sweetmeats was usable as food, but clay in its other states was not. So, in his very childhood, he was refuting Mayavad by this example. Mayavadi says everything is one. Of course, we are part and means we all, everybody are one. We are Brahman. So we all can be God at our perfection stage. No, although we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, but we are different. We are minuscule. We are minute. So this teaching Srimad Mahaprabhu is showing in this Leela. Everything is a transformation of earth only. But the pot has different use. But then food has different use. Food has to be eaten, not pot. It has also been stated that two thieves stole away the lad from his father's door with a view to purloin his jewels and gave him sweetmeats on the way. The lad exercised his illusory energy and deceived the thieves back towards his own house. The thieves, for fear of detection, left the boy there and played. Uh, So once what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to wear very beautiful ornaments. Mother Sachi Devi used to decorate Sriman Mahaprabhu with beautiful ornaments. So once two thieves, they made a plan to steal all these beautiful ornaments. So they have stolen Sriman Mahaprabhu. But then it so happened that Sriman Mahaprabhu changed their mind, and by his illusory energy, hmm, what he did, let's say these thieves, they stroll around here and there, all around Nadia, and eventually they came and dropped Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at his doorstep. Another miraculous act that has been described in the Lord's demanding and getting from Hiranya and Jagadisha all the offerings they had collected for worshipping Krishna on the day of Ekadasi. When only 4 years of age, he sat on rejected cooking pots which were considered unholy by his mother. He explained to his mother that there was no question of holiness and unholiness as regards to earthen pots thrown away after the cooking was over. These anecdotes relate to his tender age up to the 5th year. And so there are many such beautiful pastimes we can see in Chaitanya Bhagavat written by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. In his 8th year, he was admitted into the Tola of Gangadas Pandit in Ganganagar, close by the village of Mayapur. In 2 years, he became well read in Sanskrit grammar and rhetorics. His readings after that were of the nature of self-study in his own house, where he had found all important books belonging to his father, who was a Pandita himself. It appears that he read the Smriti in his own study and the Nyaya also in competition with his friends, who were then studying under the celebrated Pandita Raghunath Shiromani. So in his childhood, he was a great scholar. He was a quick learner. In very short span of time, he has finished most of the Vedic studies. Now, after the 10th year of his age, Chaitanya became a passable scholar in grammar, rhetoric, the Smriti, and the Nyaya. It was after this that his elder brother Vishwarupa left his house and accepted the ashrama status of a sannyasi ascetic. Chaitanya, though a very young boy, consoled his parents, saying that he would serve them with a view to please God. Just after that, his father left this world. His mother was exceedingly sorry, and Mahaprabhu, with his usual contented appearance, consoled his widowed mother. It was at the age of 14 or 15 that Mahaprabhu was married to Lakshmi Devi, the daughter of Ballavacharya, also of Nadia. He was at this age considered one of the best scholars of Nadia, then renowned seat of Nyaya philosophy and Sanskrit learning. So one very difficult subject is Nabhya Nyaya. So Sriman Mahaprabhu was very well versed with that philosophy. And so he used to teach the subject of Nabhya Nyaya and Sanskrit at Nadia. He became very famous, and in his very early age, of 14 and 15, he married to Lakshmi Devi, who is daughter of Pallavacharya. Not to speak of the Smartha Panditas, the Nyayikas were all afraid of confronting him in literary discussions. Being a married man, he went to eastern Bengal of the banks of the Padma of acquirement of wealth. There he displayed his learning and obtained a good sum of money. It was at this time that he preached Vaishnavism at intervals. After teaching him the principles of Vaishnavism, he ordered Tapan Mishra to go to and live in Banaras. During his reside in East Bengal, his wife Lakshmi Devi left this world from the effects of a snake bite. On returning home, he found his mother in a mourning state. He consoled her with a lecture on the uncertainty of human affairs. It was at his mother's request that he married Vishnupriya, the daughter of Raja Pandita Sanatan Mishra. His comrades joined him on his return from Pravasa or sojourn. He was now so renowned that he was considered to be the best Pandita in Nadia. Kesava Mishra of Kashmir, who had called him the great Digvijay, came to Nadia with a view to discuss with the Pandita of that place. Afraid of the so-called conquering Pandita, the Tola professors of Nadia left their town on pretense of invitation. Kesava met Mahaprabhu at the Barakana Ghat in Mayapur, and after a very short discussion with him, he was defeated by the boy, and mortification obliged him to decamp. Pandita Nimai was now the most important Pandita of his times. So this is a very wonderful pastime. What so happened that Kesav Mishra, he was a very learned scholar of Kashmir. He was a Digvijay. So Digvijay means they will roam around all over the India and challenge other Panditas. So if Pandita will be defeated in knowledge, then they will be subservient to the this master. So by that, he used to defeat all the Panditas all around. He went to Nadia, knowing that, oh, Sriman Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there, means that time he was a young boy. Yeah. So, and then hearing this, all other Panditas of Nadia, they वो लोग भाग गए. Okay. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a confrontation with Kesav Kashmir, and at last Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated Kesav Kashmir. This pastime is mentioned here. It was at the age of 16 or 17 that he traveled to Gaya with a host of his students, and there took his spiritual initiation from Ishwara Puri, a Vaishnava sannyasi and a disciple of the renowned Madhavendra Puri. Upon his return to Nadia, Nimai Pandit turned religious preacher, and his religious nature became so strongly represented that Advaita Prabhu, Srivas, and others who had before the birth of Chaitanya already accepted the Vaishnava faith were astonished at the change of the young man. He was then no more a contending Nyayika, a wrangling Smartha, and a criticizing rhetorician. He shone at the name of Krishna and behaved as an inspired man under the influence of his religious sentiment. It has been described by Murari Gupta, an eyewitness, that he showed his heavenly powers in the house of Srivas Pandit in the presence of hundreds of his followers, who were mostly well-read scholars. It was at this time that he opened a um, nocturnal school of Kirtan in the compound of Srivas Pandit with his sincere followers. There he preached, there he sang, there he danced, and there he expressed all sorts of religious feelings. Nityanand Prabhu, who was then a preacher of Vaishnavism and who had then completed his travels all over India, joined him at that time. In fact, a host of Pandita preachers of Vaishnavism, all sincere at heart, came and joined him from different parts of Bengal. Nadia now became the regular seat of a host of Vaishnava acharyas whose mission it was to spiritualize mankind with the highest influence of the Vaishnava creed. The first mandate that uh, he issued to Prabhu Nityanand and Haridas was this: go, friend, go through the streets of the town, meet every man at his door, and ask him to sing the name of Hari with a holy life. And you then come and report to me every evening the result of your preaching. Thus ordered, the two preachers were on and met Jagai Madai, two most abominable characters. They insulted the preachers on hearing Mahaprabhu's mandate, but were soon converted by the influence of bhakti inculcated by their Lord. The people of Nadia were now surprised. They said, Pandit Nimai is not only a gigantic genius, but he is a certainly missionary from God Almighty. From this time to his 23rd year, Mahaprabhu preached his principles not only in Nadia but in all important towns and villages around his city. So this is a wonderful pastime, very shortly mentioned here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityanand Prabhu and Haridas, who are his dear associates, that you go and preach the people in Nadia. They should take the name of Hari, they should sing about his glory and lead a holy life. So they went, Nityanand Prabhu and Haridas. They met Jagai and Madai. Jagai and Madai are very cruel personality. They have done all kind of sins which is possible in the Kali Yuga, and not once, many times, maybe thousands and many thousand times they have done all this. They used to eat cow milk, they used to plunder riches, they used to what not, all these abominable things. But then Nityananda Prabhu saw that if these people will be transformed, then everyone will able to know the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If these people can get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then who can be most fallen to them? Who can be most fallen as compared to them? So then Nityanand Prabhu went there, then Madai, beat Nityanand Prabhu, and then Nityanand Prabhu. So there is a very good pastimes here. In the interest of time, I'm just going ahead. But at last, they get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then Madhai became Madhavanand, and Jagai became Jagadanand, and they became great Vaishnava. So looking at this, all other people in Nadia, they were astonished. How come these two most fallen person, became disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the house of his followers, he shewed miracles, taught the esoteric principles of bhakti, and sang his Sankirtan with other bhaktas. His followers of the town of Nadia commented to sing the holy name of Hari in the streets and bazaars. This created a sensation and roused different feelings in different quarters. The bhaktas were very pleased. The Smarta Brahmanas became jealous of Nimai Pandit's success and complained to the Chandkaji against the character of Chaitanya as unhindu. Sorry. The Kaji came to Srivas Pandit's house and broke a mridanga there and declared that unless Nimai Pandit ceased to make noise about his queer religion, he would be obliged to enforce Mohammedanism on him. and his followers. This was brought to Mahaprabhu's notice. He ordered the townspeople to appear in the evening, each with a torch in his hand. Chandkaji has come and threatened, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, okay, let's appear in the evening. This they did, and Nimai marched out with his Sankirtan divided in 14 groups, and on his arrival in the Kaji's house, he held a long conversation with the Kaji, and in the end, communicated into his heart his Vaishnava influence by touching his body. Kaji is a Muslim, but he got transformed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's touch. The Kazi then wept and admitted that he had felt a keen spiritual influence which had cleared off his doubts and produced in him a religious sentiments which gave him the highest ecstasy. The Kazi then joined the Sankirtan party. So instead of stopping Sankirtan, he joined Sankirtan party. The world was astonished at the spiritual power of the great Lord, and hundreds of heretics converted and joined the banner of Vishwambar after this affair. It was after this that some of the jealous and low-minded Brahmanas of Kulia picked a quarrel with Mahaprabhu and collected a party to oppose him. Nimai Pandit was naturally a soft-hearted person, though strong in his principles. He declared that party feelings and sectarianism were the two great enemies of progress, and that as long as he should continue to be an inhabitant of Nadia belonging to a certain family, his mission would not meet with complete success. He then resolved to be a citizen of the world by cutting his connection with his particular family, caste, and creed. And with his resolution, he embraced the position of a sannyasi at Katua under the guidance of Keshav Bharati of that town on the 24th year of his age. Because if people will offend him, then they will suffer. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not come for this purpose. His purpose is to give Krishna prema to all others. So if someone will commit offense against Lord, then he will suffer from the sin. Yeah. So as long as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is belonging to some sect, some family, how this mission will be accomplished. So thinking this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became sannyasi. He took sannyas at the age of 24, so early. His mother and wife wept bitterly for his separation, but our hero, though soft in heart, was a strong person in principle. He left his little world in his house for the unlimited spiritual world of Krishna with man in general. After his sannyasa, he was induced to visit the house of Advaita Prabhu in Santipura. Advaita managed to invite all his friends and admirers from Nadia and brought Sachidevi to see her son. Both pleasure and pain invaded her heart when he saw her son in the attire of a sannyasi. As a sannyasi, Krishna Chaitanya put on nothing but a kaupina, 2 pieces of cloth, a lion cloth, and a bahir vasa, outer covering. His head was without hair, and his hands bore a danda, stick, and a kamandalu, hermit's water pot. The holy son fell at the feet of his beloved mother and said, "Mother, this body is yours, and I must obey your orders. Permit me to go to Vrindavan for my spiritual attainments." The mother, in consultation with Advaita and others, asked her son to reside in Puri. the town of Jagannath, so that she might obtain his information now and then. Mahaprabhu agreed to that proposition and in a few days left Santipura for Odisha. You see how much Chaitanya Prabhu's love was towards his mother. He wanted to settle in Vrindavan, but instead his mother ordered him, no, you go and settle in Puri, because Puri is very close to Bengal. I can get some informations. Every fortnight, people from Nadia were traveling to Puri, people from Puri were traveling to Nadia. So in that, Mother Sachimata, she can get information about Nimai. How is he doing? So, and he obeyed his mother's advice and said to Odisha. His biographers have described the journey of Krishna Chaitanya. That was the name he got after his sannyasa. So Krishna Chaitanya, this was the name given to him after sannyasa. From Santipura to Puri in great detail. He traveled along the side of Bhagirathi as far as the Chatrabhoga, situated now in Thana, Mathurapura, Diamond Harbor, 24 Parganas. There he took a boat and went as far as Prayaghata in the Midnapur district. Then he walked through Balasore and Cuttack to Puri, seeing the temple of Bhubaneswar on his way. Upon his arrival at Puri, he saw Jagannath in the temple and resided with Sarvabhauma at the request of the latter. Sarvabhauma was a gigantic Pandita of the day. His readings knew no bounds. He was the best Nayaka of the times and was known as the most erudite scholar in the Vedanta philosophy of the school of Sankaracharya. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great scholar of that time on the school of Sankaracharya. So Mayavad philosophy का बहुत बड़ा followers थे Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was born in Nadia and taught innumerable pupils in the Nyaya philosophy in his Tola there. He had left for Puri sometime before the birth of Nimai Pandit. His brother-in-law Gopinath Mishra introduced our new sannyasi to Sarvabhauma, who was astonished at his personal beauty and feared that it would be difficult for the young man to maintain sannyas dharma during the long run of his life. So Sarvabhauma was actually from Nadia, but he left Nadia quite a long back and settled in Puri. And Gopinath Mishra is the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma. He introduced Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sarvabhauma, and Sarvabhauma was very astonished to see the personal beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, you are so beautiful. How come you took sannyasa at such a young age? He was his all doubts that this, a beautiful boy cannot really keep his sannyas dharma for a long time. Because seeing as his beauty, many girls will propose him. That was his thinking. Gopinath, who had known Mahaprabhu from Nadia, had a great reverence for him and declared that sannyasi was not a common human being. On this point, Gopinath and Sarvabhauma had a hot discussion. Gopinath knew who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. Gopinath knew that he is the Krishna. But Sarvabhauma, being a Mayavad philosopher, he didn't believe at this. So Gopinath and Sarvabhauma had a very hot discussion. Sarvabhauma then requested Mahaprabhu to hear his recitation of the Vedanta Sutra and later tacitly submitted. So then Sarvabhauma wanted to test Mahaprabhu. And then he told, oh Mahaprabhu, you should learn Vedanta Sutra from me. Chaitanya heard with silence what the great Sarvabhauma uttered with gravity for 7 days. So 7 days, Sarvabhauma taught Vedanta philosophy to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't utter a single word. He was listening all throughout the 7 days. At the end of which the latter said, Sarvabhauma said, Krishna Chaitanya, I think you do not understand the Vedanta, for you do not say anything after hearing my recitation and explanation. The reply of Chaitanya was that he understood the sutras very well, but he could not make out what Shankaracharya meant by his commentaries. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied that I very well understand the Vedanta Sutra, but I am really not understanding what Shankaracharya has done to all this, to all this Vedanta Sutra in his commentary. Astonished at this, Sarvabhauma said, how is it that you understood the meaning of the sutras and do not understand the commentaries which explain the sutras? All well, if you understand the sutras, please let me have your interpretation. Mahaprabhu thereon explained all the sutras in his own way without touching the pantheistic commentary of Sankara. The keen understanding of Sarvabhauma saw the truth, beauty, and harmony of arguments in the explanations given by Chaitanya and obliged him to utter that it was the first time that he had found one who could explain the Brahma Sutras in such a simple manner. He admitted also that the commentaries of Sankara never gave such natural explanation of the Vedanta Sutras as he had obtained from Mahaprabhu. He then submitted himself as an advocate and follower. In a few days, Sarvabhauma turned out to be one of the best Vaishnavas of the time. When reports of this came out, the whole of Orissa sang the praise of Krishna Chaitanya, and hundreds came to him and became his follower. So in Mayabad, not only ordinary Mayabad, a great scholar, London Mayabad, he converted to Vaishnavism. So glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread all across, and hundreds came him and became his follower. In the meantime, Mahaprabhu thought of visiting southern India, and he started with one Krishnadas Brahmana for the journey. His biographers have given us a detail of the journey. He went first to Kurmakshetra, where he performed a miracle by curing a leper named Vasudeva Datta. He met Ramananda Rai, the governor of Vidyanagar, on the banks of Godavari, and had a philosophical conversation with him on the subject of Prema Bhakti. There was a leprosy called Vasudeva Datta in South India. And this Vasudeva Datta he was a great devotee of the Lord. So उसका माने ये जो बॉडीली वुंड होता है उसमें कीड़े बैठते हैं, कीड़े जब नीचे गिर जाते हैं ना तो कीड़ों को उठा के अपना बॉडी में रख देता है. ऐसा वो मतलब वो था कंपैशनेट. बोलता था मेरा बॉडी तो ऐसे ही मरने वाला है तो कीड़े खाके उनका माने वो लोग अच्छे से रहे इस तरह से. तो वासुदेव दत्ता was a great devotee. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him by his touch only, Vasudev Datta was cured. He met Ramananda Rai, the governor of Vidyanagar, on the bank of Godavari and had a philosophical conversation with him on the subject of Prema Bhakti. He worked another miracle by touching, making them immediately disappear, the 7 tala trees through which Ramachandra, the son of Dasaratha, had shot his arrow and killed the great Bali Raja. He preached Vaishnavism and Nam Sankirtan throughout the journey. At Rangakhetra, he stayed for 4 months in the house of one Venkatavata in order to spend rainy season. There he converted the whole family of Venkat from Ramanuja Vaishnavism to Krishna Bhakti. Although with the son of Venkat, a boy of 10 years named Gopala, who afterwards came to Vrindavan and became one of the 6 Goswamis or prophets, serving under their leader Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Trained up in Sanskrit by his uncle Prabodhananda Saraswati, Gopal wrote several books on Vaishnavism. So this is none other than our dear Gopal Bhatta. Sri Chaitanya visited numerous places in southern India, as far as Cape Comorin, and returned to Puri in 2 years by Pundepura on the Bhima. In this latter place, he spiritualized one Tukara, who became from that time a religious preacher himself. This fact has been admitted in his Adhangas, which have been collected in a volume by Mr. Satyendranath Tagore of the Bombay Civil Service. During his journey, he had several discussions with the Buddhists, the Jains, and the Mayavadis in several places and converted his opponents to Vaishnavism. Whoever have come in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, be it any other followers, Buddhist, Jainism or Mayavad, everyone is converted to Krishna Bhakta. Upon his return to Puri, Raja Pataprudra Dev and several Pandit Brahmanas joined the banner of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was now 27 years of his age. In his 28th year, he went to Bengal as far as Gouda in Mal. There he picked up two great personages named Rupa and Sanatana. Though descended from the lines of Carnatic Brahmanas, these two brothers turned demi-Muslim by their continual contact with Hussain Shah, the then emperor of Gouda. Their names had been changed by the emperor into Davir Khas and Sakar Malik, and their master loved them heartily since they were both learned in Persian, Arabic, and Sanskrit and were local servants of the states. The two gentlemen had found no way to come back as regular Hindu and had written to Mahaprabhu for spiritual help while he was at Puri. This is talking about Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. Mahaprabhu had written in reply that he would come to them and extricate them from their spiritual difficulties. Now that he had come to Gouda, both the brothers appeared before him with their long-standing prayers. Mahaprabhu ordered them to go to Vrindavan and met him there. Chaitanya returned to Puri through Santipura, where he again met his dear mother. After a short stay at Puri, he left for Vrindavan. This time, he was accompanied by one Balabhadra Bhattacharya. He visited Vrindavan and came down to Prayaga, Allahabad, converting a large number of Mohammedans to Vaishnavism by argument from the Quran. The descendants of those converts are still known as Pathana Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami met him in Allahabad. Chaitanya trained him up in spirituality in 10 days and directed him to go to Vrindavan on mission. His first mission was to write theological works explaining scientifically pure bhakti and prema. The second mission was to revive the places where Krishna Chandra had, in the end of Dwapar Yugas, exhibited his spiritual lila pastimes for the benefit of the religious world. So he ordered, you please print books, compose books about the Vaishnava philosophy and excavate those places which are related to the Krishna's pastimes. Rupa Goswami left Allahabad for Vrindavan and Mahaprabhu came down to Banaras. There he resided in the house of Chandrasekhara and accepted his daily bhiksha in the house of Tapan Mishra. Here it was that Sanatan Goswami joined him and took instructions for 2 months in spiritual master. The biographers, especially Krishnadas Kaviraj, have given us details of Chaitanya's teachings to Rupa and Sanatana. My battery is going low. There are 5 more pages. Krishnadas was not a contemporary writer, but he gathered. Maybe someone can read. Let me bring my charger back. Here, someone can read.
Hello. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Are you there?
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Are you able to hear or you are sleeping?
No. We are listening.
समझ में आ रहा है?
Hari.
Krishnadas was not a contemporary writer, but he gathered his information from the Goswamis themselves, the direct disciples of Mahaprabhu. Jiva Goswami, who was the nephew of Sanatan and Rupa, who has left us, his invaluable work of such Sandarbha has philosophized on the precepts of his great leader. We have gathered and summarized the precepts. We have gathered and summarized the precepts of Chaitanya from the books of those great writers. While at Banaras, Chaitanya had an interview with the learned sannyasis of that town in the house of the Maratha Brahman, who had invited all the sannyasis for entertainment. At this interview, Chaitanya showed a miracle which attracted all the sannyasis to him. Then ensued reciprocal conversation. The sannyasis were headed by their most learned leader Prakashanand Saraswati. After a short controversy, they submitted to Mahaprabhu and admitted that they had been misled by the commentaries of Shankaracharya. So here in Banaras, many Mayavad philosophers, they were there. Their leader was Prakashanand Saraswati. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also was invited to that program, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't sit on the chairs. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat where all other sannyasis were washing their feet. But looking at the aura and effulgence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the sannyasis came to him, and then they told, oh, you are looking a very elevated sannyasi. Why you have sat here? You please come and sit with us. And in those conversations, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu transformed the heart of those sannyasis and converted all of them to Vaishnavism. It was impossible even for the learned scholars to oppose Chaitanya for a long time, and for there was some spell in him which touched their hearts and made them weep for their spiritual improvements. Immediately they all could experience Krishna Prema. Then they left. They told, oh, we are following this Shankaracharya philosophy since a long, but we didn't have this kind of experience. After meeting you, our heart is like jumping in joy. The sannyasis of Banaras soon fell at the feet of Chaitanya and asked for his grace, Kripa. Chaitanya then preached pure bhakti and instilled into their hearts spiritual love for Krishna which obliged them to give up sectarian feelings. The whole population of Banaras on this wonderful conversation of the sannyasis turned Vaishnavas, and they made a master Sankirtan with their new Lord. After sending Sanatan to Vrindavan, Mahaprabhu went to Puri again through the jungles with his comrade Balabhadra. Balabhadra reported that Mahaprabhu had shown a good many miracles on his way to Puri, such as making tigers and elephants dance on hearing the name Krishna. From this time, that is, from his 31st year, Mahaprabhu continually lived in Puri, the house of Kasi Mishra, until his disappearance in his 48th year at the time of Sankirtan in the temple of Tota Gopinath. During these 18 years, his life was one of settled love and piety. He was surrounded by numerous followers, all of whom were of the highest order of Vaishnavas and who were distinguished from the common people by their purest character and learning, firm religious principles, and spiritual love of Radha Krishna. Swarup Damodar, who had been known by the name of Purushottama Acharya, while Mahaprabhu was in Nadia, joined him from Banaras and accepted service as his secretary. No production of any poet or philosopher could be laid before Mahaprabhu unless Swarupa had passed it as pure and useful. Rai Ramanand was his second mate. Both he and Swarupa would sing while Mahaprabhu expressed his sentiments on a certain point of worship. Paramanand Puri was his minister in matter of religion. There are hundreds of anecdotes described by his biographers, which we do not think it meet here to reproduce. Mahaprabhu slept short. His sentiments carried him far and wide in the firmament of spirituality every day and night, and all his admirers and followers watched him throughout. He worshipped, communicated with his missionaries at Vrindavan, and conversed with those religious men who newly came to visit him. He sang and danced, took no care of himself, and oftentimes lost himself in religious beatitude. All who came to him believed in him as the all-beautiful God appearing in the netherworld for the benefit of mankind. He loved his mother all along and sent her Mahaprasada now and then with those who went to Nadia. He was most amiable in nature. Humility was personified in him. His sweet appearance gave cheer to all who came in contact with him. He appointed Prabhu Nityananda as the missionary in the charge of Bengal. He dispatched 6 disciples or Goswamis to Vrindavan to preach love in the upcountry. This he markedly did in the case of Junior Haridas. He never lacked in giving proper instructions in life to those who solicited them. This will be seen in his teachings to Raghunath Das Goswami. His treatment to Haridasa Senior will show how he loved spiritual men and how he defied caste distinction in spiritual brotherhood. Haridas Thakur, he was a Muslim and he became Namacharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu titled him as Namacharya because he used to chant 3 lakhs names of the Lord every day. So it was a, thank you all very much. So it was a quick read. A lot of pastimes are mentioned throughout from the birth till end. So I'm not sure whether all the pastimes you have understood or not because it was mentioned here in very short 1 or 2 sentence, but these all pastimes are very elaborately mentioned. So time and again we will have opportunity to discuss all these pastimes, but I thought it's good that we read a short life sketch of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That will be very auspicious on this auspicious day. And let us all pray at lotus feet of Sri Sri Gaur Hari so as to bless us and give us Krishna Prema, what he has done, and he didn't really see any qualifications. So we may be utterly unqualified, but because of his causeless, merciful nature, he might inundate our heart in Krishna Prema. At least give us mercy so that we can practice the sadhana bhakti very well. Let us pray, and with this mood we can celebrate today and also play Holi, and at evening we should offer some prayers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your patientful hearing, and have a wonderful day. And this is being written by Thakur Bhakti Vinod, 20th August 1896. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Happy Holi.
Happy Holi. Did you enjoy the short life sketch of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yes, sir.
Happy Holi, sir.
Happy Holi, happy Holi. समझ में आया? Because मुझे तो मतलब मुझे लगा कि मैं रुक के